Call 307-8180. That's 307-8180.
Putting the local back into radio. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. WOCA News. Variety. Information. Now. Keep your arms and legs on the inside at all times.
WOCA.
This is WOCA, News Talk 1370.
25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Our next guest is going to tell us how to make our money last. Now, I work in the morning, so I think I make my money first. It's a joke. It's a joke. Nobody got my joke, though, earlier when I tried to say it.
Jane, I got it.
Oh, you got it. You probably have every radio geek using that same joke on you. Jane Bryant Quinn is on the phone. That's the voice you just heard. She's an Emmy Award-winning journalist. She's a leading commentator on personal finance. She's a contributor to The Washington Post, Newsweek magazine, Bloomberg, Woman's Day, which is where I get all my meatloaf recipes, by the way. Good Housekeeping, PBS, CBS News, and it's such an honor to have her on our show. How to Make Your Money Last, the indispensable retirement guide. Good morning, Jane Bryant Quinn.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, Robin.
And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New York City, where I live.
New York City.
Nice.
I'm going back one day. I'm just going to take a train and say, hey, my old friend. I used to live there. I grew up there.
I have an apartment on the Upper West Side overlooking Central Park.
Oh, well, good for you. You knew how to make your money last if you can live in that neighborhood. That's an expensive neighborhood.
I hope so.
Doesn't Alan Alda live up there? You wouldn't know.
Yeah, he does.
You wouldn't know. Or do you know?
What's his wife?
I don't know.
You don't know. Yeah.
No, but Robin knows. She just
Yeah, Robin knows.
That's right.
Robin knows all you rich people. So who's the book for? Is it for somebody who's got a lot of money, or is it for everybody like the average citizen?
It is written for the average citizen. People who have a lot of money have fancy financial advisors who do it all for them.
Yeah.
But the concern is when you're planning retirement, can you afford to retire? After retirement, the money that you have, whatever you saved or not saved, whatever you have is what you've got. And life expectancy is so long now. At 65, life expectancy is for men and women is in the late 80s. So you're likely to live 25, 30 years after retirement, and you have to have a plan somehow to make your money last. I think one of the great concerns people have when they look at their retirement planning or when they newly retire is, am I going to outlive my money? And what can I do to avoid that? It's a very scary thing. It's like the bag lady syndrome, where women think they're going to be poor at the end. Now, this is another syndrome. I'm going to outlive my money, and I'll be on the streets, or my kids will have to take me in. What can I do?
We see this all the time here in Florida because it's a retirement area. We see a lot of people at the grocery stores who retired, but they're bagging groceries, or they're welcoming us at Walmart. And I don't know if they're doing it because they just have nothing better to do, or if they just said, whoa, I don't think that we're going to be able to make it. So they take these little jobs that are pretty easy to do.
Mm-hmm. I think it's probably half-half, Larry. When you retire, if you don't have a kind of plan of what you're going to do for the next 25 or 30 years of your life, it can get pretty boring sitting in front of a TV all the time. And so, some people are bagging groceries because they need the money. Others are doing it because they like the sociability.
That's
they
true.
Want to get out of the house.
Yeah.
I mean, there are lots of good reasons to take those jobs. Money is certainly one of them. And that's one of the ways you make your money last. You take a part-time job after retirement. You know that 25% of the Uber drivers are now over 50.
Really?
Really?
How fast? Are they driving over 52?
I got to be one of those. That sounds like a good way to make extra money.
All right. So give us some of the ideas that are in the book. Give us some free samples. How can we make our money last?
Well, there are a variety of things you have to do, and of course, the first thing you have to do is to what I call right-size your life. And that means you look ahead and you say, how much money am I going to have coming in from Social Security, maybe a pension, and from my savings, and then what are my expenses so I can fit in this. People so often say, what do I need in retirement? That's not the question. It's what is my income in retirement, and how can I right-size my life to fit within that income? So, that kind of spending control matters more than getting a higher interest rate or getting a better investment. That's really the basis on which your retirement forecasting goes. And that's one of the reasons why people are taking these part-time jobs, because they did the numbers and they said, I'm not going to make it unless I can get some more income coming in. And putting off Social Security is another, taking it later.
Yeah, taking it later, That always makes sense to me. Do you know, we had before we moved the radio station to the mall, which is where we are now, we worked in an office building that had a cleaning lady and a cleaning guy. They were a couple, a married couple. Mm-hmm. And he did not speak English at all. He spoke Spanish. And she had very broken English. But what I got from her about their situation is he had been a postal worker in one of the South American countries, I can't remember, or maybe Central America, one of the countries that was overtaken. I can't remember which one.
Yeah.
And so and he was receiving a pension from the government because he worked for the post office in that country. When it was taken over, that was the end of it. So they moved to Florida, and basically they were surviving on cleaning offices. Mm-hmm.
Well, those are some stories. And here's a man who thought that he had a pension and then lost it. But, there are also a lot of people who always mean to save tomorrow instead of today.
Yeah,
and then suddenly they come up against retirement. And guess what? If you haven't saved money, no advice book is going to tell you how to make no money last.
Right.
You're going to have to go and get a job. When you speak to retired people, and if you say one thing, you ask them, what do you wish you had done more of? And they always say, always save money.
Let me ask you the negative question. If I'm listening to the radio, for example, and hopefully we don't have any, I know we don't have any local ads that do this, but could be a network ad, and it says, call us up and invest your money with us and we can turn your money around. What do we stay away from? How do we recognize a shark? How do we recognize somebody who's really not in our best interests?
First, you do have to be clear that when you retire, and especially if you retire with an IRA, so you have some money, you have a target on your back. So first, right in front of your mind should be, this person does not have my best interest in mind. Second, there are a lot of types of investments that are commonly sold to older people. The one I hate the most is called a variable deferred annuity with living benefits, and many people are simply not going to get out of that very expensive investment what they think they're going to get out of it. I do explain that in my book, but this is just kind of a warning for it. Yeah. Anytime any financial advisor who charges commissions is going to try to sell you the product that has the highest commissions, and you just need to know that. And I'm in favor. First, I think a lot of people can do it themselves by using mutual funds from places like Vanguard or Fidelity or T. Rowe Price that have a lot of really good consumer information on the site and have their own advisors there.
Oh, really? So
they do, and it's free.
Is that in the book? I mean, do you lead us in the book to those places?
I absolutely do. Where you can get an annuity that makes sense, or where you can get this free financial advice, how to be investing your money at minimal cost, and strategies for making that work. Because if you're an investor, you have to say, how much can I afford to withdraw from my savings and investments every year and still have it last for 30 years. And they say 4%, but it can actually be higher than that, which I talk about. But there are recipes for doing this, and there are ways to allocate your money so that you can be absolutely certain, or at least 95% certain, that your investments will last you for at least 30 years. And there are really simple ways of doing it, but anybody who calls you up and tries to sell you something, that will not do it for you.
You know, I want to tell you about an interview we did earlier this morning. There was a lady talking about African Americans investing and getting some financial advice, and she told me something that never occurred to me because I'm not African American, but it made sense. She said it's not that African Americans don't trust advisors. What it is that the Caucasian half of the country has parents who probably had an advisor, so you get advice from your dad or your mom. You say, who did you go to when you started making money? Oh, you went to, Bob down the road, right? That may not necessarily be true for a lot of the African Americans who didn't have enough money to be investing, but now that has changed. And so they're finding themselves in the dark. And I'm thinking your book might be a great guide for those folks who don't know where to go and they don't have a dad or a mom to ask.
Right.
I think this is the kind of person that it is written for. It's written for somebody who needs to figure this out by himself or herself, and whose only advisor they might go to might be people who sell you things on commission, and you're just not sure how to put that together. There are a lot of pieces to this that you can put together to give yourself what I call a homemade paycheck that comes in every month out of your savings and investments, and that it will last. And there are very simple ways of doing this. And you say that's in the book, with mutual funds, things you can understand, where you pay like 0.1% or even less to have your money managed. I mean, when you're paying 3 or 4% for something, you're never going to make anything
makes sense.
out of that. It just doesn't happen. And so if you don't, for people who don't have guides, this is a book for
do-it-yourselfers. That's really good advice right there. Jane, can you hang on just a second? We need to take a weather break, and we'll be right back. Jane Bryant Quinn is our guest up in New York City. Her book is called How to Make Your Money Last. If you need money advice, this is a good book. And it'll even guide you to professional advisors without sending you to the guy on the billboard who you don't even know.
Exactly.
And I thought 3% sounded good. Now I learned 3% is not good. 3% is horrible.
3% is terrible.
Horrible. So that sounds like a good deal, but it sounds now I'm listening to you better. All right, Jane, hang on a second. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. It'll be mostly sunny on this Thursday, breezy in the afternoon, high 67 to 71, and partly cloudy Thursday night, lows ranging from the mid and upper 40s in a few inland locations to 59 along the coast. For Friday, sunshine, some clouds, and pleasant, high 70 to 74. And for Saturday, partly sunny, high 72 to 76. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
Because music stirs up strong emotions, it makes it easier for our brain to store information about that event. Showering less will definitely help most people's complexions because hot showers melt away the oils that seal in moisture and keep skin supple. Dogs are man's best friend, right? But new research from Nature's Scientific Reports now shows that dogs also do nice things for other dogs.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
Hey Ocala, this is Kelly Hart, Executive Editor of Ocala Magazine. Did you know last year Ocala Magazine won more awards in excellence than any other publication in Florida? And this year, Ocala Magazine was named Best Consumer Magazine in the state. Now you can join me every Friday at 10 a.m. on Ocala Magazine Radio, where we bring the pages of Ocala Magazine to life, right here on The Source. Ocala Magazine thanks you for making us number one. And remember, there is only one Ocala Magazine.
Hey, I'm Gary.
And I'm Eric. Did you know that Red Eye Radio is on WOCA The Source every night from 2 to 6 a.m. and it's live?
That's right. No tape shows here.
We know that the news doesn't sleep.
And neither do we. So we're here with you live from 2 till 6 a.m. every weekday. Call us 866-90-RED-EYE. So join me, Gary McNamara.
And me, Eric Harley, every weeknight to discuss the latest in news and entertainment.
Right here on WOCA The Source.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new truck.
We can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too.
Well, as a matter of fact, join me, Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Automotive, every Tuesday at 10 for auto repair with personal care right here on The Source.
Putting the local back into radio. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. WOCA News. Variety. Information. Now. Keep your arms and legs on the inside at all times.
WOCA.
AM 1370.
96.3. 96.3 FM.
All right, 10 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. We're learning about money, Robin. Jane Bryant Quinn is on the phone. We've already got a little piece of information that I really couldn't have told you. The 3% was not good.
No.
So that was a good piece right there. And all of that's in the book, Jane?
All of that is in the book. Something else I'd like to mention about investing, since we're talking about 3% being a ridiculous amount to have to pay for a product. But often people planning for retirement, they reach retirement, they say, I'm older, I have to have fewer stocks, less money in the stock market, and more money in the bond market. First, bonds, as you know, are paying zilch. But the other thing is that at 60 or 65, you are still a long-term investor. You have 20 years, you have 30 years to live. And over this period of time, the U.S. economy is going to grow, the global economy is going to grow, profits are going to grow, stocks are going to grow. So yes, you need some secure investments, so to help pay your bills over the next 5-7 years and whatnot. But you can't abandon stock market mutual funds. I'm a mutual fund investor, not individual stocks. But you can't abandon that because you need to have your money grow for the second half of your retirement. People just, at 65, you are a long-term investor just as you were at 45. And you need to think that way when you're planning your money.
Well, when a person plans like that, everything seems to be going well, but sometimes unforeseen things happen, and sometimes family and friends need help financially, and then they'll come to the person that seems to have the money. How do you help them out without jeopardizing your future?
First you have to know how much you can help them out without jeopardizing your future. And I am certainly in favor, even if you have to reduce your standard of living in some way, if one of your children has a real emergency of some sort, whether it's medical or whether it's job loss or whether it's a sick child or something like that, these are our kids. So whatever it costs us, we have to deal with it. But there's something different. If one of my kids came to me and he's deeply in debt and because he didn't pay any attention to his credit cards and he wants me to bail him out, my answer is, I gave you an education, you grew up, you're an adult, you figure it out because...
Well, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and also grandchildren in college. You don't have to send your grandchildren to college. It's nice if you have a little extra money and you want to do it, but your kids should not pressure you in any way to be spending that money. That's something else. That's their responsibility.
But I think this is more philosophical than money advice, but I think that's actually for their best interest too. Because if they learn right at that point from a mistake or from a need, then for the rest of their life they'll be able to make their own money or at least invest their own money.
And you've got to you've got to grow up. And if you keep coming back to mom for money because you made a stupid investment or you've been overspending on your credit cards, you have not grown up yet. When you say, okay, kids, you solve it, you're helping them grow up.
Jane, some investment products are sold by insurance companies. Are they good or is it a mixed answer?
I would say that this is a very mixed answer. The insurance companies, they sell these variable deferred annuities that I just pounded the table about. So those I don't think you should pay any attention to as investments, although they're very popular. People are sold on them, and you have to pay a 5 to 7% commission. So I think when you're looking at insurance company products, you're looking at life insurance if you need it. You're looking at health insurance if you're under 65 and haven't fallen into the arms of Medicare yet, which is so comforting. But for investment products, and you're looking at immediate pay annuities, which is the sort of annuity where you put up a chunk of money and the insurance company says, fine, thank you, I will give you X dollars for life, and it's very clean, it's simple, has nothing to do with investments, has nothing to do with deferred annuities. It's just, here's what I'll put up, here's what you'll get for life. So that's an insurance product I like. Otherwise, for investments, I'd go to mutual funds. I'd go to these low-cost mutual funds like Vanguard and Fidelity and T. Rowe Price, where I just mentioned, where they have consumer advice and investment advice that you can get there at no cost, and they have some wonderful mutual funds. Personally, I favor the mutual funds called index funds. They follow the stock market as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
They're very simple. They're very low cost, and all you have to worry about there is what percent is in a stock fund, what percent is in a bond fund, what percent you keep in cash, and there's nothing else you even have to think about, and you're not paying huge fees every year. Those huge fees are killing you.
Let me ask you this. I know a family in New York, and they're probably going to retire here, and they have considered keeping their house up there and renting it out as retirement income. What are your thoughts on people who do that kind of thing?
I think that it's a perfectly reasonable thing to do as long as you're a good landlord and you are able to keep in touch with your tenants. They're very carefully vetted. And yes, I have friends who do the same thing. By the way, we were talking about Uber before. I have a friend who has a house upstate, and she uses her Manhattan house for apartment through Airbnb. And she rents it out that way. I mean, it's a very interesting world. But the only thing is that if you're a long-distance landlord, you have to be sure you're vetting very carefully, and you have to ask yourself if you have the steel to be a landlord, STEEL. Because
right.
I want to make sure that wasn't misunderstood.
Yeah.
Because if you're a softie and somebody gives you a sob story, and I can't pay this,
That's right.
You think you're being a nice guy, but you're just being an incompetent landlord.
Are you foolish for getting a property manager? Because I always thought that would be the way to do it.
A property manager would be the way to do it, but then you run into the question of what is the manager charging, what are your expenses, and are you actually getting net enough out of this house for it to be worth it? So I would certainly say you could try that. You could try with a property manager.
The difference,
but just look very carefully at what you say. What am I net going to get out of that house, as opposed to selling it, adding it to my mutual fund investments, and not worrying about what's happening.
That might be the better way. But especially the difference in price of a house on Long Island in Nassau County compared to here in Marion County, because we're not in Miami, we're in Central Florida, so the prices here are way lower compared to like Miami and to Nassau County. So I always thought, well, they could sell their house and they would have a nice nest egg for something.
It would be wonderful. The only reason that you might not do that is if you want to come back for part of the year and be in New York. And if you don't want to come back, I think you'll make more money selling the house.
I agree. I agree.
Well, the book is for all of us to have money as we need it at the end of our lives, or toward the end of our lives. We're not done. We got lots of time. 23 minutes, 23 years.
30 years.
30 years or something.
That's right.
That's what she said.
Oh, yeah. How to Make Your Money Last is the book. Jane, how do we get the book?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore. And I also have it up on my website, JaneBryantQuinn.com.
Well, that was my next question, the website. Okay, JaneBryantQuinn.com. This interview, by the way, has been recorded as a video. You don't see Jane. In fact, you don't see anybody. The camera's aimed toward the table.
Yeah.
But you can listen to it. We'll put it up on YouTube and on Facebook by this afternoon, and Jane's website address will be on there as well. Jane, thank you for taking time to be on the air with us today.
thank both of you. I've had a very nice talk with you. It's really fun.
If you're ever in Central Florida, come in and do this again in the studio.
I'll do that.
All right. Make your money last. How to make your money last. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. It'll be mostly sunny on this Thursday, breezy in the afternoon, high 67 to 71, and partly cloudy Thursday night, lows ranging from the mid and upper 40s in a few inland locations to 59 along the coast. For Friday, sunshine, some clouds, and pleasant, high 70 to 74, and for Saturday, partly sunny, high 72 to 76. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala.
Fox News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. Just in time for this weekend.